On WFLA Now, this is Hey JB. Here's JB Buno.
A lawsuit containing bombshell allegations against Brian Laundrie's family, claiming Brian told his parents about his murder of Gabby Petito and that his parents were trying to help him flee the country in early September. We're breaking down a lawsuit from Gabby Petito's family, just filed in Sarasota County Court in the last couple of days, here live on WFLA Now. Good afternoon to you folks. JB Buno here with you live once again, talking about a story that, of course, so many of you, millions around the world, were focused on in the latter half of last year, 2021. That, of course, being the murder of Gabby Petito and the subsequent suicide of Brian Laundrie. The story now takes a turn in a different direction in the form of a civil lawsuit that WFLA was able to obtain in the last several hours. It was filed in Sarasota County Court yesterday, that being Thursday, March 10th, and we obtained the documents first thing this morning. We've spent the last hour or so combing through it, and by now you've probably clicked on the link in the description on this video. You've probably, if you're joining us after this has been live and you just want to read the breakdown of the report, it's for you on WFLA.com, the WFLA app. You can also click on the link in the description on this video or in the pinned comment below. We're live on Facebook. We're live on YouTube. So just want to put that out there. There's a lot of folks out there that would prefer to read about this story rather than hear me talk about it for the next several minutes. But I am going to spend the next few minutes talking about it. And then what we're going to do is we're going to get to your comments, as we do here interactively on WFLA Now. This is our venture into interactive journalism. We want to feature your comments, your questions. You can use hashtag HeyJB in the Facebook Live, YouTube Live, or on Twitter as well in those comment sections across social media. And in the next few minutes, we'll be featuring some of your questions and comments. But here it is, the complaint, a civil lawsuit. We have been talking on WFLA Now in recent months about whether or not there was going to be a civil lawsuit filed by Gabby Petito's family. And here we have it today. Before we start to go item by item here and break down exactly what is detailed, I want to make something really clear to our audience. And it's very, very important that we are upfront and transparent and have this, this very important component of journalistic integrity put forth to you, our audience watching now. These are allegations. There's a lot of allegations, and a lot of them are massive as far as the Gabby Petito, Brian Laundrie story. However, they are simply allegations, and there is nothing in these documents that is outlined as evidence in this case. Now, while the allegations are going to make headlines, and already are making headlines, including on WFLA.com, there is no backed up evidence at this time in these documents that have been filed in Sarasota County Court that points to this being fact. Now, we're going to go down through the list of these allegations, and it should be pointed out that this civil lawsuit is requesting a jury trial. So many of you who have been behind the Justice for Gabby movement have wanted there to be some semblance of a jury trial that would speak to at least something that resembles justice for Gabby Petito. And they are requesting a jury trial in this case. It is a civil lawsuit filed by Joseph Petito, that's Gabby Petito's father, Nicole Schmidt, Gabby Petito's mother, in Sarasota County Court. That's, of course, where Chris and Roberta Laundrie live, the defendants in this case. And they are seeking monetary compensation for an amount seeking $100,000 or more for, in the argument, in the complaint of negligence. And we'll go over exactly what that negligence is in the complaint. But again, you can click on the link in the description on this video if you'd like to read it for yourself. As we just kind of, get going here as far as reading through the document itself, good evening to everybody joining us on Facebook Live. Good evening to everybody joining us on WFLA.com, the WFLA app, as well as on YouTube. I hope that you're having a good Friday afternoon as we near the weekend here in the Tampa Bay area. Okay, so the complaint filed March 10th in Sarasota County Court by Joseph Petito and Nicole Schmidt. I'm going to go through this line item by line item, and I have highlighted here about 6 or 7 certain items that are of particular note. Allegations that, if we had known about them months ago, would have been massive international news when the entire world was watching the Gabby Petito and Brian Laundrie story and was hyper-focused on this with every development that came on literally an hour-by-hour basis. So I'm going to go through these items. I'm going to read them for you, and we'll do it together. And then I will kind of point out the ones that are allegations that are new and quote unquote bombshell, if you will, because they're new allegations that we didn't know about previously. So there's a lot just going over the listing of the plaintiffs. We're going to pick this up on page 2 with point number 7. Brian Laundrie and Gabby Petito became engaged to marry on or about July 2nd of 2020. On July 2nd of 2021, Brian Laundrie and Gabby Petito left New York in a van owned by Gabby Petito to take a trip to the western United States, which was expected to last for several months. Point 9. Prior to the trip taken by Gabby Petito and Brian Laundrie, Joseph Petito and Nicole Schmidt and Christopher Laundrie and Roberta Laundrie had a cordial relationship. Point 10. Gabby Petito had hopes of becoming a travel influencer, a van lifer, and document her cross-country travels on social media sites such as YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. Point number 11. During the course of the aforementioned trip, Gabby Petito called her family almost daily, including her parents, Joseph Petito and Nicole Schmidt, and her siblings. Point 12. The last communication that Gabby Petito had with Joseph Petito was on August 21st, 2021. Point number 13. The last communication that Nicole Schmidt had with Gabby Petito was on August 27th, 2021. All right, this is the first point that I highlight, which means that this is something new, and it's point number 14. It is believed that on August 27th, 2021, Brian Laundrie murdered Gabby Petito. That cause of her death was blunt force injuries to the head and neck with manual strangulation. So before we move on to point 15, let's talk about what's new here. And I want to make sure that we're still live. I think we lost signal here for just a second. But that the cause of death was blunt force injuries to the head and neck with manual strangulation. They're pinpointing the date of August 27th, and they're also saying that there was blunt force injury trauma to Gabby Petito. Now, this was not outlined in the report by Teton County Coroner Dr. Brent Blue last year. The cause of death was revealed to be manual strangulation, but now Joseph Petito and Nicole Schmidt, Gabby's parents, are alleging that in addition to there being manual strangulation, in addition to manual strangulation being the cause of death, that there were also blunt force injuries to the head and neck, which now again, these are allegations without evidence, but it speaks to a little bit more about what Gabby Petito's final moments might have been like. We move on to point number 15. Gabby Petito was 22 years of age at the time of her death. I highlight again here point number 16. Listen closely. After Brian Laundrie murdered Gabby Petito, Brian Laundrie sent text messages back and forth between his cell phone and Gabby Petito's cell phone in an effort to hide the fact that she was deceased. Before we move to point 17, we have talked about this at great length on WFLA Now and previous live streams, that the text messages gave Nicole Schmidt, Gabby's mom, just a bit of a strange feeling that something wasn't right. And now that we have these text messages that are between Gabby's phone and Brian's phone, what they are saying is that they're reading between the lines here. This point is alleging that this was part of now a cover-up to try to make it seem as if Brian Laundrie had nothing to do with Gabby's murder. This is, again, reading into this document that has been filed, a civil lawsuit by the Petito family. Let's go on to these next 3 points are all massively significant. So if you're joining this live stream for just the next few minutes, this is really where we're getting to the nuggets that are really new and speak volumes as to what Gabby's family is alleging. On August 27th, 2021, it is believed that Brian Laundrie sent a text to Nicole Schmidt in which he referred to Gabby Petito's grandfather, Stan, by name. Gabby Petito never called her grandfather by his name. This goes back now to the text message, the Stan text message that was sent to Nicole Schmidt, which was so bizarre to Nicole. And I've talked to Nicole in the past about how strange this was, because calling your grandfather by their first name and not, a common nickname like Papa or Grandpa or something like that was very, very unorthodox, and Nicole Schmidt had very, very strong feelings connected to that text message that something wasn't right, that something was drastically wrong. Point number 18, it is believed and therefore averred that on or about August 28, 2021, Brian Laundrie advised his parents, Christopher Laundrie and Roberta Laundrie, that he had murdered Gabrielle Petito. On that same date, Christopher Laundrie and Roberta Laundrie spoke with attorney Steve Bertolino and sent him a retainer on September 2nd, 2021. Now, the online sleuths that have paid a whole lot of attention to the story and have pieced together the timeline, I'm really calling out the folks on Reddit who have really gravitated towards this story. 6 figures large on Reddit was the Gabby Petito subreddit piecing together the timeline. And sending him a retainer on September 2nd is going to raise some eyebrows based on what some people have put back and forth on social media, specifically on Reddit. But let's just go over the big point here in point number 18. What they are alleging, Gabby Petito's family is alleging that the day after Brian murdered Gabby, that he informed his parents that he did murder Gabby. And this was the time when Brian was traveling home in the van to Florida, or approaching the time. It's in the time frame where he was making his trip in the van back to Florida, and that at that point, for that journey, it is being alleged that Christopher Laundrie and Roberta Laundrie spoke with attorney Steve Bertolino. This is the first time we're mentioning Bertolino by name. I want to make it very, very clear and very, very transparent to our entire audience. The first thing I did in receiving this document, as far as its publication on WFLA.com, was reach out to Steve Bertolino for comment. He offered no comment. Stephen Bertolino, Chris Laundrie, Roberta Laundrie, if you're watching this live stream right now, you have an open and fair channel here to speak and respond to these allegations. These are allegations without evidence. There's no evidence listed in this document. I can comb through it as many times as you guys would like, but there is no evidence within it. It's just allegations. So, to Mr. Bertolino, to Mr. and Mrs. Laundrie, if you would like your side of the story to be heard, you absolutely have the opportunity to do so. You have my phone number. Please reach out to me. It would be, of course, very, very interesting to be able to talk to you and hear your response to these allegations. So Mr. Bertolino is mentioned several times in this document, and that's the first time. Let's get to point number 19. On August 30th, 2021, Brian Laundrie sent a text message from Gabrielle Petito's phone to Nicole Schmidt stating that there was no service in Yosemite Park in an effort to deceive Nicole Schmidt into believing that Gabrielle Petito was still alive. I don't think that there is any context necessary for that point. The allegation is that the no service in Yosemite text, which we spent a very long time discussing on WFLA Now and with you, our audience, it was sent with the sole purpose of deception of Gabby Petito's family into leading them, or trying to lead them on into believing that Gabrielle Petito, that Gabby was still alive. Meanwhile, fear is beginning to seriously set in, and has set in likely for Nicole and Joe and the entire Petito and Schmidt families, that something has gone wrong, because they're getting odd text messages and they're also not hearing Gabby's voice during this period of no communication between the 22-year-old from Florida, originally from Long Island, New York, and her family. Okay, point 20, 21, 22, 23, we're going to kind of go over, and then point 24 is also very, very big here. Point number 20. On September 1st, 2021, Brian Laundrie returned to the home of his parents, Christopher Laundrie and Roberta Laundrie, driving Gabrielle Petito's van. We have pinpointed this date. We have talked about this date many times before on WFLA Now. Point number 21. After this point in time, there was no contact between Joseph Petito and Nicole Schmidt on the one hand, and Christopher Laundrie and Roberta on the other. This is when we talk about this breakdown in communication, the lack of communication that exists between the two families of this engaged couple. Point number 22. From August 27th, 2021 until September 19th, 2021, when Gabrielle Petito's remains were found at the Spread Creek dispersed camping area in Wyoming, plaintiffs were extremely distraught and were attempting to locate Gabrielle Petito. Point number 23, while Gabrielle Petito's family was suffering, the Laundrie family went on vacation to Fort DeSoto Park on September 6th, September 7th of 2021. Just going to time out here for a second because we have also, WFLA was very, very integral as far as the revelation that there was the Fort DeSoto trip, that on September 6th to September 7th, that there was this family camping trip to Fort DeSoto Park, the campground there, Site 001, the waterfront campsite there in Pinellas County, southern Pinellas County, right here in the Tampa Bay area. We discussed that at great length. And I just want to read this again because there are going to be so many people who were following those live streams when we were talking about Fort DeSoto that are going to find this point to be particularly interesting. I'll read it again. Point number 23, while Gabrielle Petito's family was suffering, the Laundrie family went on vacation to Fort DeSoto Park on September 6th, September 7th of 2021. Point number 24, and this is another one that I've highlighted. In an effort to avoid any contact with Nicole Schmidt, on or about September 10th, 2021, Roberta Laundrie blocked Nicole Schmidt on her cell phone, such that neither phone calls nor texts could be delivered, and she blocked her on Facebook. This point is also brand new, and again, an allegation without evidence. This is you're taking Nicole Schmidt, Gabby's mom, for her word. I'm sure that there is electronic evidence that could be presented in a, in a court in front of a jury, and I'm sure that that electronic evidence exists in some form. But what Nicole Schmidt, Gabby's mom, is alleging is that when she was desperately trying to just find her daughter, that Brian Laundrie's mother, Roberta Laundrie, blocked her to the point where you couldn't text, you couldn't call, and also blocked her on Facebook. That's point number 24. Point number 25. On September 14, 2021, with full knowledge that Gabrielle Petito had been murdered by their son, Christopher Laundrie, and Roberta Laundrie, through their lawyer, issued the following statement. Quote, unquote, it is our understanding that a search has been organized for Ms. Petito in or near Grand Teton National Park in Wyoming on behalf of the Laundrie family. It is our hope that the search for Ms. Petito is successful and that Ms. Petito is reunited with her family. There's several other statements that I'll continue to read here. There's another statement, but we'll make this all available to you on WFLA.com because there's several pages of this. But I want to move on. I'm going to skip ahead. And again, the entirety of this will be on WFLA.com. But I want to just point this out. Point number 20. We're going to move on to point number 29 and point number 30. While Joseph Petito and Nicole Schmidt were desperately searching for information concerning their daughter, Christopher Laundrie and Roberta Laundrie were keeping the whereabouts of Brian Laundrie secret. And it is believed were making arrangements for him to leave the country. There was so much, a gargantuan amount of speculation as to whether or not Brian Laundrie, in the aftermath of this receiving national and then international media attention, whether or not Brian Laundrie was going to try to elude authorities. And there was endless conspiracy theories on the social media platforms that you know exactly which ones I'm talking about, that he was going to get on a boat, he was going to find a raft, that he was going to get on a kayak, and he was going to row his way to a different country. There were sightings across the country of people that appeared to match Brian Laundrie's build and his facial hair and his shaved head. People that thought that he was in Canada, people that thought he was in Mexico. The conspiracy theories were a train that had clearly left the tracks at that point, because anybody that matched that description was being photographed on a cell phone. It was a blurry image of somebody that appeared to match Brian Laundrie's description. And we tried to stay rooted in reality throughout that entire process and try to tell you that there was nothing that suggested that that person was Brian Laundrie other than the fact that it kind of vaguely matched his physical description. But I have to point out that there was so many people out there. I'm an anchor here on the internet, and I have to point out that there was a sizable amount of people on the internet who said Brian Laundrie is leaving the country. That was just their theory. That's what people were talking about online. So now in this lawsuit filed by Gabby Petito's family, they are alleging Joseph Petito and Nicole Schmidt are alleging that and Roberta Laundrie were not only keeping the whereabouts of Brian a secret, but that they were trying to help him leave and flee the country. Again, I'm going to repeat this so many times because we have our audience is a revolving door, and I have to be a responsible journalist in telling you these are allegations without evidence. It's so important for us to highlight that point over and over again. And I have reached out to the Laundries through their attorney, Steve Bertolino, who have offered no comment. I'll just check my phone again really quickly here to see if in the last several minutes, oh, I did. Look at that. See, it's a good thing I checked my phone. I have a text message here from Stephen Bertolino. You want to just kind of let the newsroom know? All right, so I have a statement here from Bertolino, and it reads as follows. As I have maintained over the last several months, the Laundries have not publicly commented at my direction, which is their right under the law. Assuming everything the Petitos allege in their lawsuit is true, which we deny, this lawsuit does not change the fact that the Laundries had no obligation to speak to law enforcement or any third party, including the Petito family. This fundamental legal principle renders the Petitos' claims to be baseless under the law. And that's what happens when we do live streams. Traditional news reports, you gather your reports, you go on, and you present that information. Live streaming, and this is, I talk at great length, and I have talked at great length about live streaming and how that fits into the world of journalism, how so often you will have developments that happen live on stream. So in the last few minutes, Stephen Bertolino has sent this in, and you have to excuse me, everybody, because I'm going to have to send this to the newsroom so that my news team here at WFLA has it. Yeah, I'm gonna send it to Heather. Yeah. And a lot of times all this happens via text message. So that's just happening in the last several moments. I'll read it again. Just one more time. As I've maintained over the last several months, the Laundries have not publicly commented at my direction, which is their right under the law. Assuming everything the Petitos allege in their lawsuit is true, which we deny, the lawsuit does not change the fact that the Laundries had no obligation to speak to law enforcement or any third party, including the Petito family. This fundamental legal principle renders the Petitos' claims to be baseless under the law. That is the comment. And let's make this clear again. He is saying that assuming everything that the Petitos are alleging is true, which we deny, the lawsuit does not change the fact that the Laundries had no obligation to speak to law enforcement and that the Petitos' claims are baseless under the law. I'm itching to get to some of the hashtag HeyJB comments here because I want to just kind of feature some of your comments and start to have a little bit of an interactive back and forth here with you as soon as I can, start to load up comments. In fact, let's get that going here in just a few minutes because I'm almost through the entirety, really, of the lawsuit. So that is a response from and I'm juggling a lot of text messages that are coming through from several individuals. And I want to make it clear. Let me make that clear with the text messages that I just read from somebody close to the story. I said it earlier, but I'll say it again. There's several documents that are connected to this one, the master document, if you will, that basically outlines the allegations in the civil lawsuit filed by Gabby Petito's parents against Brian Laundrie's parents. They are requesting a jury trial. Now, if it ever does get to a jury trial, would some of the evidence that is behind some of these allegations come to light? I'll just say that, again, a jury trial has been requested, and it has been filed that way, under that particular categorization in Sarasota County Court. One more time, point number 29 is alleging that Brian Laundrie, his whereabouts were kept a secret deliberately by Chris and Roberta Laundrie, and that they were making arrangements for him to leave the country. Last point I'm going to read, and then I'll go over some of the other details here. I'll just paraphrase for you. Point number 30. Christopher Laundrie and Roberta Laundrie knew of the mental suffering and anguish of Joseph Petito and Nicole Schmidt and knew that they could alleviate, at least in part, such mental suffering and anguish by disclosing what they knew about the well-being and the location of the remains of Gabrielle Petito, yet they repeatedly refused to do so. In doing so, Christopher Laundrie and Roberta Laundrie acted with malice or great indifference to the rights of Joseph Petito and Nicole Schmidt. That, I highlight this one because this one kind of encapsulates all the allegations into in their words, anguish and suffering that the Petito family went through at this time when Gabby was missing, and then when her remains were found, and then when Brian's whereabouts were unknown, that it was, in their words, a trial of mental suffering that I'm sure, and I'm just speaking for any parent, that nobody would want to wish that upon anybody in this world. That uncertainty of where your 22-year-old daughter is, whether she's alive, having this feeling inside that somebody knows the answer, but that you're not getting those answers. I think that there's just a lot of people that connected with the Petito family, with the Schmidt family during this entire process. And that paragraph speaks to just some of the unbelievable pain that they were going through at the time when they were, again, when they were unsure of where Gabby was, and then subsequently were unsure of where Brian was and if Brian Laundrie was going to be alive at the end of the search for his whereabouts. So that's the document. Click on the link in the description of this video. It's on WFLA.com, the WFLA app. I'd like to get to some of the comments here on Facebook Live, on YouTube Live, as well as on Twitter. We'll try to get to Twitter comments as well. That's a little bit trickier for us. And I know that there's a lot of, to Mary. In fact, we'll start to load up some of the comments. I'm going to get to your comment, Donovan. So right now, we'll start this now. If you have a hashtag HeyJB question or comment, it can be an observation, how you feel about the story. I want to just give you an opportunity to speak. If you have a question about what's next, or a question about one of the points that I just read aloud from the document itself, regardless, feel free to use the hashtag, and we'll, provided that it's good for air, we can animate it. But if you don't want your comment to be featured, just don't use hashtag HeyJB. We'll let your comment continuously scroll on by, but we're going to start to look for them really right now. Oh, this is a really good one from, all right, let's see here, Callie. We'll get to your comment, Callie, as well. And I have to point out as well, we're going to be on WFLA News Channel 8 in about 15 minutes. So I will have to pause for a moment to be on TV. I know that we're mostly live streaming to our audience here on social media. However, I also have to do a hit for your NBC station here in Tampa Bay, that being WFLA News Channel 8. Our viewers here, of course, wanting updates. Cheryl, I'll get to your comment as well. I think that there's been some words of encouragement for Petito's family. We'll get to your comment, Corinne. Let's start to get through some of these, and we'll start to feature as many as we can over these next, 15 or so minutes. We'll try to stay live for as long as we can. And I'm just catching up on some text messages to make sure, everybody, that I'm not missing anything, because this is pretty important. Okay, let's start with Mary's comment. Hashtag HeyJB. Oh, wait, where is it? It's there, but it's not there. Let's make sure it's there. I think that'll do it. Poof. Mary Cottrell, hashtag HeyJB, with all the civil lawsuit documents. Will all the civil lawsuit documents be published for the public to read? Absolutely. In fact, if they aren't, I'll make sure that they get published as soon as possible. But let me read something here for you. A couple of things about this, about where this goes from here, because there's more than just, there's accompanying documents to this civil lawsuit. And I want to make this clear. The categorization of the lawsuit is requesting a jury trial, which we have mentioned. They are requesting monetary compensation exceeding $100,000. It is not, of course, a class action lawsuit. I'm just reading through some of and they are claiming negligence. That is the reason for the lawsuit being filed. I also want to point out that a summons has been written up as well, and I believe that I'll bring it up here. I want to make sure I have this clear. I believe that Chris and Roberta Laundrie have 20 days to respond to this. Now, have they been served with these documents? I was texting with some people regarding this story before we went live, and that was a major question. We do not know if Chris and Roberta have been served these documents yet. So I would imagine that considering we have had a back and forth sort of exchange here with Stephen Bertolino, their attorney, I'm willing to bet that they are very well aware that the lawsuit exists and that they have read the lawsuit. But whether or not they have actually been served with the documents in person, that I'm not sure. Here, let's read this here. The summons are for, and I'll read this. You are hereby commanded to serve this summons and a copy of the complaint and designation of email addresses in the above styled cause upon the defendant. It goes on to list some addresses. Within 20 days after service of the summons upon the defendant, exclusive of the day of service, and to file the original of said written defenses with the clerk of said court, either before service on plaintiff's attorney or immediately thereafter. Basically establishing a 20-day window for there to be a response to this lawsuit that has been filed in Sarasota County Court here in Florida. Let's get to this one from Donovan Roos, hashtag HeyJB, saying they should be charged. So I bring this up. This is Donovan's opinion, but I want to bring this up because is there any chance for the Laundries to be charged with a crime? These allegations are claiming that the Laundries knew more than what they were informing the world. And were they, quote unquote, withholding information from certain parties, including law enforcement? This is something that we were talking about in the newsroom as to whether or not there's anything criminal in nature here. Now, of course, we have brought on esteemed FBI expert Jennifer Koffendorfer, who's joined us on WFLA Now, who told us just a few weeks back, she was here in Tampa with us at WFLA, and she told us that she does not think that at this time that there's any grounds to file charges against the Laundries. Otherwise, they would have filed charges to begin with before the culmination of the FBI investigation was put out online in that public release earlier this year. So, guys, everybody, just excuse me for a second. I just have to put on a microphone for TV. But yeah, this is Donovan's opinion that that they should be, but again, it's very important to point out this is a civil lawsuit. All right, is that okay? Don't want to break your microphone. All right, put that down there. Yes, big microphone in my face for live streaming, a little microphone in my face for television. Okay, let's get to this comment from Callie. This is an excellent question. Is Cassie Laundrie included in the lawsuit? The answer to this question is no. There is no mention of anyone in the lawsuit other than Gabby, Brian, Chris, and Roberta. Of course, their attorney, Mr. Bertolino, and then Joseph and Nicole. As far as Gabby's parents, Brian's parents, I'll just kind of go through it here, scanning again. I believe that those are all parties mentioned in this lawsuit. Yeah, that's it. Cassie Laundrie, who of course, and you've been seeing her kind of flash in our rotating video here on your screen, is not included in this lawsuit. Cheryl Lewis, hashtag HeyJB. I just want to say that Nicole is a wonderful mother. She knew from only typed words those messages were not coming from her baby. Much love going out to Gabby's family. This is just one of the many comments that we have had come in that are extraordinarily supportive of Gabby Petito's family. And I'll just say this, for kind of some of the social media activity that I've received in recent months, really recent weeks, but recent months, there were so many people that were hoping that we would get to this point, or so many people that were hoping that this point would be realized, that that there would be more information that would come to light. I think that we're all seeking more information, right? Always trying to get to the heart of what happened in a particular story. That's what we do as journalists. But that's, as you as readers or as watchers, that's what you want as well. You always just want the truth. You want fact. And this story left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths around the world, because there were so many people out there that still felt like the truth eluded them, that we didn't know why Brian killed Gabby, and wanted to know what was in the notebook. More on the notebook here in just a moment. In fact, we'll go to the notebook comment from Corinne Gray. #HeyJB. Do we know anything about what was found in the notebook where Brian had supposedly confessed? We were on live stream with 8 on Your Side senior investigator Walt Petito, talking about some of the details that were, that came out in the aftermath of the FBI's full release. And what we had found is, as far as the notebook there, the discovery of a wooden box, photographs that were found there at the scene and the Carlton Reserves. That's the topic of a different live stream, and I'll try to link on Twitter to my other live stream. And there's other articles on WFLA.com that detail what was found near Brian Laundrie's remains there in the Carlton Reserve. But there was a whole lot more. But to answer your question, Corinne, do we know what was found in the notebook? We don't. There was also a handwritten half note, as it was called by authorities, and we don't know what was on that note. We don't know if that was the note. We don't know if the notebook contained a lot of information, a little bit of information. We just know that there was enough that the FBI was able to conclude that Brian claimed responsibility for Gabby's death. That's really what we know. Let's go to YouTube. Let's start getting into some of the YouTube comments. Really appreciate our YouTube audience joining us. Real Gamer on YouTube, #HeyJB. So do you think this is likely to head to civil trial? Is there still evidence that that has yet to be presented to the public? If you are filing this civil lawsuit and you're an attorney filing this civil lawsuit, you're requesting a jury trial, what does that mean to you? Does that mean that this is a smoking gun? Do you know what I mean? Do you try to think about it from an attorney's perspective? If you're filing this civil lawsuit and you're requesting a jury trial, you have to be really confident that you can back this up. So to answer your question specifically, Real Gamer, this very well could head to civil trial. We would need to get a legal expert on, and we'll try to do that for you, to get their perspective and as to what the timeline is and what the written response or what the legal response from Bertolino and the Laundries will look like, whether that response will be public, whether or not a trial would present new information that is available to the public. All of these things, the legal ramifications of what the next step is, will likely come to light here in the hours and days ahead. But I don't think you file this and request a jury trial unless you're feeling pretty good about something that you have that you can present to back up these allegations. These are very loud allegations. They're major allegations. And to be able to back them up in a court of law is going to be is going to be at the heart of whether or not Joseph Petito and Nicole Schmidt are going to receive a monetary amount of maybe more than $100,000. Folks, we're getting ready for our live hit on television. I will have to go quiet for just a few moments as well. But we'll go to Meet Moop on YouTube, #HeyJB. Can the parents still legally be charged? You can always, I think that, yeah, the statute of limitations hasn't run out. Can they be charged? Yes. Is it likely they'll be charged? Based on the experts that we have talked to, no. Lorraine Avellino on YouTube, #HeyJB. Okay. I hope Gabby's family never stops attempting to get answers until every piece of this horrific tragedy has been answered. May they get the strength they need to never let this be put to bed. Here's the thing. Here's the thing about this comment, Lorraine, which is very, very interesting, that you're hoping, Lorraine is hoping that Gabby's family never stops trying to get answers. But what this document, if you read between the lines of this document, what this document is screaming to the world is that Gabby's family does have answers that validate the existence of a lawsuit. Now, we can't say for certain whether or not they do have evidence, but you're going to file a lawsuit and request a jury trial and not have evidence? That's kind of that's a move that I don't think would be made lightly. So, you know, Lorraine is saying here, I hope that they never stop until they get answers. They might be the ones sitting on the answers that the world is waiting to hear with this story. There are documentaries coming out around the world about this story now, and the story isn't over. I'll make that clear. That we don't know why Gabby killed Brian. We don't know what happened. Excuse me, Brian killed Gabby. Thank you, Jim. I talk a lot, and sometimes I get names mixed up. We don't know why Brian killed Gabby. That answer still eludes the public at large. And so all of these documentaries and TV series that are coming out, there's still more to the story that is being quite literally written and sent into Sarasota County Court as we speak. We'll try to get to one more before we turn around. I'm going to literally turn around for television. Let's see here. MML0123 on YouTube, #HJB. What happens if the Laundries don't answer within the 20-day window? Does that mean the lawsuit is dismissed? No, I think that it just opens them up to legal ramifications if they do not respond, but they have to be served with the documents. That's the thing. You have to, when we're talking about court summons, we're talking about the actual serving of the documents. Someone who will present these documents formally to ensure that they have in fact been received. There's also mention of email addresses in the civil court accompanying documents. So I have not yet heard if they have received those documents just yet. If I do, of course, I'll make it available on my WFLA Twitter account and on my other social media platforms. A lot of folks watching on the WFLA JB Facebook page. I'll try to hop on Instagram after this as well to talk to some of the folks on Instagram. Lee Yvonne on YouTube, #KJB, is the FBI case closed? Yeah, I mean, it's closed in the sense that it's no longer in day-to-day active investigation. That was basically the summation that they put out in their release online saying that this is what we have. And they put that out, I believe it was in January. And it closed, though. I don't like using that word because it's closed, but could it be reopened? Of course. Falls within the statute of limitations. There's opportunities, of course, that arise with any new evidence that is presented, if there is new evidence that is presented. But is it like, are the FBI right now in a headquarters style room with a big whiteboard writing down facts and working through this as we speak? No. This is in large part no longer an active investigation, the FBI moving on to other cases, but always is there the opportunity for them to revisit it should new information or evidence come to light. Folks, I have to I'm going to turn now, and we got to get going here for WFLA News Channel 8. So we're going to do this live. I'm going to stay with you live because I want to get to as many of these questions as possible. But if I go, I do have a couple minutes, right? I've got a couple of minutes. But Josh Benson, of course, folks know, big shout out to Josh, is on the anchor desk right now here at WFLA News Channel 8. And he is going to do a little bit of a Q&A with me on your NBC station here in Tampa Bay, that being WFLA News Channel 8. And then I'll resume the live stream for another 15 or so minutes to answer as many questions as possible and kind of talk about where this goes from here for you, our Facebook Live audience, our YouTube Live audience. And let's make it clear, too, on WFLA.com, the WFLA app, that's where you can read the latest on this story.